this meeting to order. And welcome to meeting number 16 of the House of Commons Standing Committee on Indigenous and Northern Affairs. I'd like to start by acknowledging that I am joining you today from the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee, Anishinaabe, and Chinantan nations. Pursuant to the order of reference of April 20th, 2020, the committee is meeting for the purpose of receiving evidence concerning matters related to the government's response to the COVID-19 pandemic. Today's meeting is taking place by video conference, and the proceedings will be made available via the House of Commons website. During this meeting, the webcast will always show the person speaking rather than the entirety of the committee. In order to facilitate the work of our interpreters and ensure an orderly meeting, I'd like to outline a few rules to follow. Interpretation in this video conference will work very much like a regular committee meeting. You have the choice at the bottom of your screen of either floor, English, or French. In order to resolve the sound issues raised in recent virtual committee meetings and ensure clear audio transmission, we ask those who wish to speak during the meetings to set your interpretation language as follows. If speaking in English, please ensure you are on the English channel. If speaking in French, please ensure that you are on the French channel. As you are speaking, if you plan to alternate from one language to another, you'll need to switch the interpretation channel so it aligns with the language you are speaking. You may want to allow for a short pause when switching languages. Before speaking, please wait until I recognize you by name. When you are ready to speak, you can either click on the microphone icon to activate your mic, or you can hold down the space bar while you are speaking. And when you release the bar, your mic will mute itself just like a walkie-talkie. A reminder that all comments by members and witnesses should be addressed through the chair. Should members need to request the floor outside of their designated time for questions, they should activate their mic and state that they have a point of order. If a member wishes to intervene on a point of order that has been raised by another member, they should use the raise hand function. This will signal to the chair your interest to speak. In order to do so, click on Participants at the bottom of the screen. When the list pops up, you will see next to your name that you can click Raise Hand. When speaking, please speak slowly and clearly. When you are not speaking, your mic should be on mute. The use of headsets is strongly encouraged. If you have earbuds with a microphone, please hold the microphone near your mouth when you are speaking to boost the sound quality for our interpreters. Should any technical challenges arise, for example, in relation to interpretation, or if you are accidentally disconnected, please advise the chair or clerk immediately, and the technical team will work to resolve them. Please note that we may need to suspend during these times, as we need to ensure that all members are able to participate fully. And before we get started, can everyone click on their screen in the top right-hand corner to ensure they are on gallery view? With this view, you should be able to see all the participants in a grid. It will ensure that all video participants can see one another. During this meeting, we will follow the same rules that usually apply to opening statements and the rounds for questioning of witnesses during our regular meetings. Each witness will have up to 5 minutes for an opening statement, followed by the usual rounds of questions for members. And I'll just advise everyone on the opening statements from our witnesses and of course from our question rounds that I'll be fairly tough on the timing. And the reason for that is not, we really hate to interrupt thoughts as they come forward, but we also have to be aware of keeping the meeting orderly so that everyone gets their opportunity to ask their questions with the full amount of time. We hate to run out of time at the end of the meeting. So that's why I may give you a 1-minute warning or ask you to wrap up a point. And so now welcome to our witnesses. From the Assembly of First Nations, Alberta Association, we have Regional Chief Marlene Poitras. From Creative Industries Coalition, performer Tom Jackson. From the Nishnawbe-Aski Nation, Grand Chief Alvin Fiddler. And from the Long Point First Nation, Chief Steve Matthias. Regional Chief Poitras, you have 5 minutes for your opening remarks. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and good morning. I thank you for the opportunity to address you from the heart of Treaty 6 territory. I represent a region fully encompassed by treaties number 6, 7, and 8. These treaties are more than just agreements between our nations to share the land and live in peaceful coexistence. They are living, breathing relationships that, to this day, from the basis of your Constitution. I raise this because many nations are beneficiaries to clauses in their treaties for the provision of medicine and for assistance in times of pestilence. And while financial aid and resources has moved quickly to First Nations, and the collaboration and communication of our regional office has been commendable, Canada continues to fail in meeting its commitments and obligations to our treaty relationship, even during a specific circumstance when the Crown promised it would support us in a way that we needed. First Nations are being recognized on how they have addressed this crisis. By setting up borders, curfews, and other security measures, First Nations have statistically fared better than Canadians. But as one of my colleagues recently said at a meeting, this was not only because of an overabundance of caution. In fact, the response so many have celebrated was born out of necessity. Our leaders put those extraordinary measures in place because we still have homes housing upwards of 15 people. We have elders who could perish from this disease, and there's never enough time to transmit the knowledge that they carry. We have a disproportionate amount of people who suffer from chronic illnesses, and we have communities where people can't even properly wash their hands, and the list goes on and on. If it's not a clear sign that systemic racism is alive and well in Canada, I don't know what else this country needs to hear to finally take action on the gross inequality that exists between Canada and First Nations. The fact that when the Indigenous Community Support Fund was rolled out, Canada used a funding formula that not only accounted for First Nations on-reserve members, when it very well had the ability to account for all First Nations members, both on and off reserve. It is proof that Canada is only willing to recognize our nationhood within the confines of a reserve. How can a government purport to support nation rebuilding when it intentionally finds ways to limit our authority and jurisdiction to borders they determine? To make matters worse, our leaders scrambled to pass public health orders and laws to safeguard communities from this virus. Some of them in Alberta had to expend exorbitant amounts of own source revenue to hire security teams to protect their communities. When law enforcement agencies were called to support these public health measures, some refused, saying our laws weren't enforceable or worse, unconstitutional. How can we ever be true nation-to-nation partners if Canada is unwilling to accept our laws as equal to theirs? This country already recognizes two legal systems, civil and common. It is not unreasonable to expect the same for ours. Let me remind you that if Canada didn't recognize our treaties, you wouldn't have a constitution. As we begin the phased reopening of our societies and start working towards economic recovery, we recommend the availability of testing increases for First Nations people, that First Nations specific assessment guidelines for testing, contact tracing, treatment, and vaccinations be designed with First Nations technicians, leaders, and knowledge keepers, that First Nations are able to determine their data needs and those be responded to appropriately for planning subsequent health crises. This point is critical to self-determination because First Nations have not been the first to find out when a confirmed case is in their community. The province continues to hold the information, which then goes to Canada and finally to the First Nation. Tracking of cases by Alberta Health reflects First Nations on and off reserve, yet the source of information is outdated and it is still based on the old Alberta healthcare data arrangement. Similarly, census data from 2016 is still used as the base number of our populations. Those numbers aren't accurate because many First Nations don't actively participate in the census. Lastly, distinct funding must be provided to support the First Nations businesses with their recovery, and we must be active participants in the rebuilding of our economies. I say this because I keep hearing that people can't wait until things get back to normal, but there's a part of me that says normal didn't do us justice. Normal meant injustices for our people. It meant underinvestment of our communities. It meant the exploitation of our lands without our consent. We now have an opportunity to work together to make things better, to develop our solutions, to develop our laws, to develop whatever it is we need to ensure our people can benefit and thrive. The only way that this is going to happen is if our treaty partners come to the table and we work together effectively and efficiently in true partnership. Thank you. Hi.
Thanks, Chief Patras. Mr. Jackson, 40 years ago, I was a young DJ, and I was entertaining some young people from the Northwest Territories, and I was playing some music, pop music of the day, and I said to these young kids, "Who's your big music star up where you folks come from?" And they said, "Tom Jackson." And that was 40 years ago. And it's a delight to have you here in person to speak from the Creative Industries Coalition. Sir, you have 5 minutes. Please go ahead. Your mute is on. Your mute is on.
How about there? You good? Good. I just want to thank you for that acknowledgement of North of 60. It was a great, wonderful time for me. But good morning, and thank you for the opportunity to speak with the Indigenous and Northern Affairs Committee of the House of Commons. I'm proud to be here, and I'm honored to be speaking at this historic time in Canada. I would like to acknowledge that I am on the Blackfoot territory of Treaty 7. My name is Tom Jackson, as you know, and I'm here to speak with you on behalf of the Creative Industries Coalition, a group of unions and guilds representing artists and technicians working in live performance. Entertainment was the first to go, and it will be the last to return, particularly the live performance sector. 50,000 Canadians are out of work. There is virtually 100% unemployment in our industry, and our members are experiencing wage losses of about $130 million per month. Due to the freelance gig nature of our work, fewer than 2% of our members are receiving support from the Canada Emergency Wage Subsidy. Many contract workers are not eligible for employment insurance. We need the extension of the CERB. Although the program runs until October the 3rd, the maximum eligibility period is 16 weeks. Most entertainment industry workers applied immediately. Their benefits will run out in July. We need an extension of both the maximum eligibility period beyond 16 weeks and the end date of the program. Until it is safe for us to return to work, we need this financial support. But if you don't mind, I need to tell you a little bit of my story. I'm just an old 6'5" Indian guy with a braid. I have a treaty number. I was born on the back of a horse-drawn buckboard between One Arrow First Nation and Prince Albert, Saskatchewan on October 27th, 1947. So that tells you two things. One, I've been around for a long time. And two, I'm a pretty lucky guy. And you know what makes me lucky? I became an entertainer. I discovered radio. I discovered radio doesn't have a color. So I was lucky. I have more than one number. I have 5 union numbers. I'm a member of ACTRA, SAG, CFM, Equity, and the Writers Guild. So you're probably thinking to yourself, wow, that guy must make a lot of money. Nope. As a matter of fact, a lot of my fellow artists, people in the entertainment industry, are just like me. Lots of numbers, no money. They are brothers and sisters of mine who bring you happiness and joy, create health every time you turn on your screen or your music. Entertainment is the most powerful instrument of change in the human history. Right now, its players are invisible. They're just numbers. So let me ask you a question. Would you like to see a better Canada? If you'd like to see a better Canada, say aye. Okay, some of you would. If you'd like to see a better Canada, say aye. Okay.
Aye.
If you'd like to see a better Canada, say love. Okay. Now, not only is Canada better, you just made the world a better place. You see how entertainment can change the world? And this is not new, but it's magic. Remember Live Aid or Farm Aid, or you remember that little project called the Huron Carol? Well, the Huron Carol alone has raised $230 million in cash and in-kind services for Canadian food banks, disaster relief, and social services in crisis. Even today, with the help of musicians who wish to participate, a project called Almighty Voices provides entertainment, creates health, and raises money for the Unison Benevolent Fund. When you need us, we're there for you. You have the want, we have the will. Now we need your help. We need you to do your magic. We need your political will. We need you to make the invisible visible. Personally, one thing that I would see as a godsend is an extension of the CERB. And as it's my tradition, I know that you may know this, but some of you may not. But it's important for you, so pay attention. You have to know that I love you.
Thank you. Thanks, Mr. Jackson. From our next speaker is from the Anishinaabe Nation. Welcome, Grand Chief Alvin Fiddler. You have 5 minutes. Please go ahead.
Miigwech. Can you guys hear me okay? Miigwech, I'm very honored to appear with Mr. Jackson. Miigwech, Peter, for your work over the years. Regional Chief Poitras, miigwech again for your leadership during these difficult and uncertain times. Miigwech to the committee for inviting me and allowing me to say a few words. I just want to start off by saying that the Anishinaabe Nation represents 49 First Nation communities, 43 from Treaty 9 and 6 from Treaty 5. We have a vast territory in the northwest, northeast part of the province of Ontario. So I was asked today to talk about the federal government's response to date to this pandemic. And I can tell you that on March the 11th, when the World Health Organization made this declaration that COVID-19 is a pandemic, a worldwide pandemic, the first thing we found out was that the federal government did not have a plan. There was no plan. So we had to very quickly scramble. And as a First Nations community, we were already behind the 8 ball in terms of the level of healthcare in our communities, in terms of the living conditions in our communities, with the housing, with the lack of proper infrastructure. Right now in the INAN territory, we have 18 boil water advisories, 9 long-term, 9 short-term, including the Skandiga, who's been on that list going on 26, 27 years. So when we found ourselves in the situation in March, we knew we had to act very quickly. One of the first things that we did was we put together our own team, or INAN, what we call the INAN COVID-19 task team, comprised of public health experts, doctors. We had knowledge keepers as well. We had our own people on that team, and they've been proven to be a very valuable resource to our communities over these last 3 months. And we've had to do a lot of work to keep our communities safe. And we have over these last 3 months. There's only been one positive case so far in the INAN territory, which was in Yabmadug, and that was in early April, which has since been resolved. So we are grateful for the protection that we've been, from our Creator. That everything that we do is based on, the fact that even though we may think we have our own strength and our own knowledge, that we're smart, that it's the Creator that in the end looks after all of us. And I really believe that. And I really, every chance I get to talk to our leadership, I talk about how important that is, that we need to keep working together as a nation. And we've been reaching out, in our case with Treaty 9, we also have a treaty partner with the province of Ontario. And we've reached out to Ontario, both Ontario and Canada, to work with us, to join us in this effort to keep our communities healthy and safe during these dangerous times. One of the things that we also found out right away is that the things that we're trying to address were new. These are long-standing issues, and the regional chief from Alberta touched on some of those issues. That, in addition to dealing with a public health disaster like a pandemic, we're also saddled with all the historic wrongs and the inequities in every field, whether it's education or health, infrastructure. Those are, and then you throw a pandemic in the mix. You're asking for, that's a recipe for a really public, public health disaster. So
we're just about at time, Chief.
Tried to do, is we created a trilateral table where we have been working very effectively with both levels of government over these last 3 months. Now, I would ask that some of the things that we put together need to be carried forward past the pandemic. I think we've been able to prove to both Ontario and Canada that if we work together, we can do a lot of things. We can really speed up on some of the things that we've been trying to address for many, many years. And we want to see that the things that we've been putting, the tools that we've developed and the process we've developed, that we want to see those carry forward post-pandemic.
Chief, I'll have to ask you to leave it right there, and we'll pick up more of your comments later on. Right now, it's time for Chief Steve Mathias. Chief, you have 5 minutes, and please go ahead.
Yes, good morning, Quay. First, I'd like to acknowledge the previous speakers that just spoke before me. Regional Chief from Alberta, Chief Portra, Mr. Tom Jackson, and Chief Fiddler. So I want to acknowledge them, and I really share their intervention. And I'll give you a little bit more, I guess, scope from a community perspective. I want to also take this opportunity to acknowledge the from our riding, which is Sébastien Lemire. So first, Miigwech, Mr. President. Firstly, I would like to extend my gratitude to you for this prestigious invitation to address the Standing Committee on Indigenous and Northern Affairs. I hear a lot of noise in the background that's really distracting me. I don't know if someone is on.
Could I ask everyone to make sure your mics are off? And go ahead, Mr. Mathias. There's not something rubbing on a cord in your office or anything, is there?
No.
Okay, carry on.
You going to allow me another 30 seconds for that, there, Mr. Chairman?
Absolutely.
Okay, so before answering the question of what the government response to the COVID-19 pandemic that affected my community in particular, I find it important to provide you with the brief history and issue behind the land status of my community of Winneway. It would serve to enlighten the Standing Committee on the difficulties that we face and manage. My own community of Winneway is considered by most departments and governments as a semi-isolated community geographically located in the Témiscamingue region that's in the northwestern Quebec of the province of Quebec. Our population is approximately 500 living in the community and another 400 members who live outside the community due to housing shortage. At first glance, it is what can be considered a typical Aboriginal community with a young population and challenges around housing, community infrastructures, and economic development opportunities given its location. I always say that you don't pass by Winneway, you go to Winneway, considering it is the last little town within the local eastern sector of the MRC. Over and above the physical location, and what's more surprising to many is that Winneway is not considered as a reserve under the Indian Act. Some section of Winneway is considered as a settlement, and others have a federal title. So what comes along with this type of recognition is a jurisdictional dispute and disclaimer by both levels of government. There's also an historical presence of the missionary oblates that dates back in 1951 through a lease between the oblates and the provincial government of Quebec. Therefore, the land that we occupy are in majority located within the boundaries of the oblates lease. The administrative agreement that binds ISC and the oblates has long since expired, in that the oblates wants to transfer the land back to the province, stating that their mission to the Indians is now terminated. All the while, the Anishinaabe people of Long Point have never ceded any parcel of their traditional territory. Land was taken through a process of dispossession. Although this historical truth of unceded territory is not unique in the province of Quebec, the situation of the sectional and divided parcel of land of the present day Winneway is unique. And what comes with it are unique situation and challenges on both the federal and provincial level. When the state of emergency was declared in mid-March, my council and I rapidly put in place a local pandemic committee, and we've been working 7 days a week to prevent the spread of this deadly virus among the people and among the community. We have put every ounce of our energy in developing measures, educating, creating awareness, and setting up temporary community infrastructure because of our semi-isolated location. Many pieces of the giant puzzle were laid out on our table, despite not having our own public security to enforce our rules, regulations, and the council resolution. The one important element that remains is the confirmation from the province of Quebec for a public health decree. It's Long Point's last resort in reinforcing our health guidelines and safety measures with the support and cooperation of the Quebec Provincial Police. In conclusion, our people have faced many epidemics before were hysterically, some were intentional bio warfare attempt meant to eradicate our people. COVID-19 and the federal government's financial aid were seen as a shift in the way past governments have behaved towards us. Although there were still some paternalistic administrative constraints that were imposed in this over and above the lives and safety of our people.
Thank you very much. We're going to move to questions. Just before we do that, Mr. Jackson had submitted a very remarkable video, which we had hoped to enter into testimony today. It's not quite compliant yet with the translation requirements of our committees. So we're working on that. And when that is achieved, I think I have general agreement from the committee that we would like to play that and enter it in, but we just can't do it this moment because of the compliance issues with regard to translation. So that having been said, we have 6-minute round of questioning now. Our questioners first time around will be Mr. Zimmer, Mr. Van Couverden, Mr. Lemire, and Ms. Kakak. And Bob Zimmer, please go ahead for 5 minutes.
Thank you.
6 minutes.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you to our witnesses, especially Mr. Jackson and Chiefs Matthias, Fiddler, and Poitras for being with us this morning. First question is to Mr. Jackson. I guess my file is Northern Economic Development. So part of my future, I guess my hope is to see our economy functioning again. And I heard that the numbers, the loss to the film industry is profound, and the impacts to the people that are working in that industry are profound as well. And I guess my question to you is, how do we get back to that normal where we were before, where Canada's film industry was doing so well? How do we get back there amidst this COVID cloud that still hangs over Canada?
I think we have to be very diligent and committed to find ways to collaborate in a fashion that we aren't trying to spend our energy and time negotiating, but that in fact we spend our time and energy collaborating and deciding based on you think I know. You have to tell me what you're assuming so I can tell you what is not right. And I'll tell you what I assume about you, and you can tell me, well, that's not true. So we can come together and have a better understanding of what our issues are. I'm for sure not one of those people who is an expert who can pull fairy dust out of the air and give you a magic answer as to how do we get back to a place where we were before. But I know that if we are to succeed in reestablishing ourselves as an industry, then we have to concentrate on two things. One of them, we have to concentrate on making sure that the people who drive this industry are fairly compensated just as human beings for having been there when you needed us. To understand that the people that we are representing are all workers in the industry, not just actors like me and clowns like me. There are people who get their fingernails dirty every day, but right now they can't do that. And until we find a way so that they can, we have to make sure they're taken care of. Because if there's no leadership to eat, if there's nothing to eat, there's no pack. There's no leader. There's no pack. We can't do it without your help.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson. Anything you'd like to submit to the committee afterwards, too? Because I think what we're looking for as well is to help in any way we can, whether it's access to PPE or whatever that looks like, to get our economies functioning wherever they are. My next questions are for the Chiefs, Chiefs Matthias, Fiddler, and Poitras. Again, thank you for joining us today. Again, my file is economic development, so I see it you know, and definitely I've seen your stories, I've read your stories online about during the crisis, lack of access to PPE. I know we have vans up in my neck of the woods in northern BC where access to PPE was a big problem, and to emergency plans and that sort of thing. It was a big challenge. They were left scrambling. I was buying bleach for them from Walmart to go out and deal with some of these situations. So I guess my question to you is, that was then. Certainly things aren't great right now, but more of a hopeful place to go in our minds right now, in our mind's eye, is how can we get to that hopeful place in the future where our economies are functioning, maybe not just the way they were before, but even better? What can we do, you know, with COVID as, I guess, the topic today? How do we get to that place? And we'll just start off with Chiefs Poitras first and go to Fiddler and then Matthias, just for a few comments there. How do we get our economies functioning again and even better?
Thank you. Thank you for that question. You know, First Nations have always participated in the economy. As a matter of fact, we have, I believe the number is over 40,000 businesses across Canada. And, you know, to have them involved in terms of how do we move forward, and we have a lot to contribute to society. And our businesses are, you know, the business leaders that we have are fairly astute and can provide some good direction in terms of moving forward in the economy. But the government has also need to be cognizant that the businesses have, you know, a huge amount of losses during the COVID, you know,
right,
shutdown, and somehow they have to be compensated for that, but they have to be at the table to provide that guidance and direction. Thank you.
Great.
30 seconds.
Chief Fiddler.
Yeah, miigwech for the question. I think it's an important one as we sort of ponder the, you know, what that recovery will look like. And I would just say that with a team that we've developed in the INAN territory, that we've developed frameworks on the reopening of INAN, what that could look like, but also we're in the process now of developing a framework on recovery. And I agree with some, you know, the points that Chief Poitras just raised. But I think too, just in the INAN territory, and some of the MPs that are on this committee probably have heard about the resource development that's happening in the INAN territory. You know, the Ring of Fire is a potential big project. And I would just remind all of us here that are on this meeting today that, you know, there's already a framework that's already been provided for all governments in terms of how they should engage with the Indigenous community. That's the UNDRIP on the rights of the Indigenous peoples. You know, that spells out all the, you know, in terms of engagement, in terms of consultation, accommodation, and all parties benefits.
I'll have to interrupt there. We're well over, and I want to make sure everyone gets an opportunity to ask their questions, as well as get the answers, of course. So next up is Mr. Vancouverden for 6 minutes. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. It's nice to see everybody, and thank you very much for the incredible interventions today. I think I speak for all of us when I say thank you for joining us. This is a really impressive panel. First, I'd like to start by acknowledging that I'm joining you today on the sacred territory of the Wendat, the Haudenosaunee, and the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. And Chief Matthias, when I did a little bit of research on your community, I saw that your emblem is a canoe. So I also want to acknowledge that I made a name for myself here and abroad with an Inuit invention, the kayak. And I like to acknowledge that it's a great boat and a great vehicle. So thank you for that contribution. My questions today will focus on youth and how sports and arts dovetail with mental health supports in your various communities. I'd love to hear from everybody. So I'd ask you just to, if you could keep your interventions brief, then we can hear from everybody. But I think I'd start with Chief Poitras, if I could, just to more thoroughly understand how the supports with respect to mental health can be better, more culturally relevant, and create better outcomes for youth with respect to arts and sports specifically. Thanks, Chief.
Well, the youth are very important to our society, and you know, because they're going to be our next leaders, and it's really important that we put measures in place that supports them in what, you know, sports, arts, whichever area they want to go into, even if it's leadership. And I believe that the voices of our youth are really strong. They're very astute, and you know, there's certainly, you know, if you look at the statistics in terms of suicides, you know, that occurred during the pandemic, that says to me that there is a definite need for more funding and resources and supports for our youth going forward.
Thanks, Chief Poitras. Chief Matthias, if I could ask.
Yes, thanks for the question. The population of our youth is a very significant one. Just in my community, under the age of 25 represents 65% of the population of our community. So, and there's not very much opportunities, even in terms of sports. We don't have an arena. We're pretty far from that. You know, we lack of very much of community infrastructures. You know, so that would need to be done in our community, is to invest into that. And we got to reach out to those kids, you know, to those youths, and because information is power, you know, and we got to be able to communicate with them. You know, they all go on Facebook now today and all that. So they're there, and they're really have high hopes on, you know, on seeing things happening, you know, in our community. And that's where, you know, and when we're completely dependent on government programs and services, that's what makes it even more challenging for us. Because, you know, the government can announce all kind of monies, but reaching out and getting those monies is a different, that's the bigger challenge. And often we don't meet the criteria, or we don't even go into the guidelines, especially for a small community like mine, which is kind of a semi-isolated. We have very difficulty of accessing funding.
Thanks, Chief. Mr. Jackson, my dad and I watched a lot of North of 60 when I was growing up, but we also watched a lot of Star Trek: The Next Generation. And when you appeared on that show, it was very, very cool to see a Canadian and an Indigenous person represented in space. So if you could talk about your relationship with kids, and I know that you've also been an athlete, but if you could elaborate a little bit on mental health and youth.
Thank you very much for bringing up the subject. There's a couple of points that I'd like to make quickly. One of them is creating health versus managing disease. Right now, we live at a very important crossroads in our time, where we can spend all our time managing disease, or we can spend some time creating health. Our youth are inherently very good with their hands. When I went through school, I wasn't the smartest cat in the world, and I dropped out of school. But the reason I dropped out of school, because they took a basketball out of my hand. I can tell you this: if you put a guitar or a paintbrush or a needle, you know, one that makes beadwork, if you put that in a student's hand, if you give them the things that they're good at, that they're going to stay in school. If you only challenge them to be academically smart and together and do what the rest of the world is doing, you might lose them. And you don't have to. Help them be what they want to be too. Right? Take their voices and listen to their voices and allow them to create health for themselves. Allow them to smile and be happy. And I think that'll makes a big difference. So we as leaders, we have to help to try and provide the access to the asset.
And that brings us right on time. I'm just going to ask Mr. Fiddler, technician is trying to get in touch with you with regard to how your microphone is selected. So check with your phone. There is beside your microphone, the icon for the microphone in the bottom left, there's an arrow. And when you press the arrow, it shows different microphones to be selected. And IT thinks that you may not be on the same microphone as you're using. So I'll let you deal with that as we move on to our next questioner. And hopefully just check your phone as well, because IT may be trying to connect you. Monsieur Lemire, vous avez la parole, 6 minutes.
Mr. Lemire, 6 minutes.
Désolé.
Sorry. Miigwech, Mr. Chair, Quay to committee members. It is a privilege for me to be here today. I'm actually quite excited. This is one of the greatest opportunities I've had since I've been elected, this opportunity to speak with Chief Steve Mathias. First, I'd like to mention that I think my father would be particularly pleased to see the two of us speaking together in an official parliamentary committee like this. It's very touching for me to be here. Thank you to my colleague Sylvie Bérubé for giving me this opportunity. Behind me, you'll notice that I have a painting by Frank Paulson, and this is visible in almost all of my speeches in committee, all of my interventions, rather, in committee. It's very symbolic for me in my riding of Abitibi-Témiscamingue, where the Indigenous presence is essential. Mr. Mathias, you played an absolutely important role when it comes to leadership on the safety of your community members when it came to COVID. We spoke about it once during repatriation because you had a few members of your community who were outside, who needed to come back. And I remember that once repatriation had happened and those members had come home, you made sure there was a safe quarantine space where they didn't want for anything. And that is an example that speaks to all of the ways that you help your community. Then, when everyone was wondering about how the virus spread, you decided to be bold, to show leadership, and to close the borders of your community. Because you were concerned, because in your community, the lack of housing makes it so that the virus could spread very quickly in your community. What would you like to say to the federal government? You're on mute, Mr. Mathias. Can everyone hear me? Thank you for the question, Mr. Lemire. We had made a request to the federal government to help us put in place infrastructure. We put ourselves in a kind of lockdown because we closed our community borders in Winneway. We started saying to people that they couldn't leave unless it was for medical reasons. People couldn't even leave for groceries. Everything had to be done within the community. And we made a request to the federal government to have a budget to pay for groceries for the whole community, and they were in favor of that request. This helped us to manage the situation. We also put a committee in place and put emergency measures in place, and we worked to inform the community. I appeared on a radio show every week to keep people abreast of the steps we were taking. That's important for people because they're not used to being confined to their community. These are people who are used to moving around over the territory a lot, and that's why that was a challenge for us. Absolutely. That's all in your honor, Mr. Mathias. We know that there was a person who had to, or rather, when it comes to hydroelectrical projects, you still don't have the reserve status in your community. And so in order to make decisions independently, that's still not an issue that's been resolved for you. What is your demand in this context, and what would change on your part as chief of the community when it comes to situations like COVID? Answer. Because of the location of our community, that was a handicap when it came to governance of the community. And also in managing the community as a whole. For us, because we don't have that legal status, under the Indian Act. The Mohawk community of Kanesatake does have that status. We would be, if we had it, we would be better placed to manage the community. It would help us to establish our own rules. For example, we don't currently have our own police force because the Quebec Provincial Police Force serves our community, but it doesn't follow our band council recommendations or any regulations that we would like followed.
Past time. Thank you, Mr. Lemire, Mr. Mathias. And now for 6 minutes, Ms. Kakak, please go ahead.
Matna, thank you, Chair. Shout out, as always, to the IT team and translation for putting up with us, basically. And thank you to all the witnesses for sharing your experiences and such valuable knowledge. My first question is for all three chiefs. I'm going to ask that you try and stick to about a minute just because of my time limit. And to all three of you, can you talk about how your experience working with the federal government to support communities during COVID-19 has been? We've heard a lot of frustrations about resources that weren't needed being delivered and timely COVID data not being shared. Could you talk about your own experience? And can we start with perhaps Chief Fiddler and then go to Matthias and then, sorry, I'm gonna butcher your last name, Potras?
Let's go ahead.
Let me start?
Yes. Please.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you for the question. I was told to try to speak louder into my iPad. So if you see my mouth moving in, it's because I'm speaking to the. But it's a bit of a hit and miss working with the federal government. I think that's why we've tried to streamline the communication process and the decision-making processes in partnership with Ontario, so that we can move as quickly as we can on many of the issues that we're struggling with. And it's becoming an effective tool, I think, for all of us. And that's why I think we want to tell both Ontario and Canada that we need to maintain these processes in place post-pandemic.
Thank you. If we can have Chief Matthias next, please.
Yes, thank you for the question. I would say that we started off we had a rough start with the federal government. And I would say it was mainly at the bureaucracy level. And what was so frustrating for us there is that, that we felt like it was pretty much like delaying tactic. All what we were asking, we wanted to have portable trailers to come in the community so that in the event that we would have a spread of the virus in the community, so we can immediately isolate, our people. So because of the overcrowded situation that we have in the community, and the lack of housing, and the high chronic illnesses that we have too, of diabetes, diabetic, and so on. So we had to go public. We had to start putting press releases out to pressure the government to come, and meet the requests and demands that we were making. And only there and then that we were able, to get, quick answers. And the Minister Miller had to intervene one or two occasions. And since then, things went fairly well afterwards.
Thank you for sharing. And last but not least.
Thank you. Personally, my relationship with the government, and they've been very responsive. And Minister Miller and Minister Blair, I've had direct contact with them. But I guess the biggest issue, was the lack of involvement of First Nations at the table when resources were being doled out across the country. And there was always questions about how did you come to those numbers? Like, for example, 135 million was recently announced for businesses. How did the governments come to that number without our involvement? Thank you.
Thank you all for sharing. My next question is for Ms. I'm so sorry, Patras. Thank you, Chair. Myself, along with my party, want to make sure that the government follows through on its commitment to fully adopt the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People. Can you talk about the importance of making sure that those fundamental rights may have changed the delivery of COVID resources, and what impact it could play in our framework for post-COVID recovery?
Well, the National Chief and has been really pushing for UNDRIP to be legislated, and and I believe that that's a commitment from Minister Lametti in our recent conversation with him. Of course, UNDRIP is something that supports First Nations. It has the free, prior, informed consent, and so those are it's a great document to enable us to move forward collectively and to live in peaceful coexistence like was stated in the treaty. So we do have those documents that support First Nations, and I think if they were implemented, the political will is there that we can move forward together in a good way, in addressing our many issues that we have in this country.
And that brings us right to time. Thanks, Ms. Kikak. That was well done. Mr. Viersen, Batiste, Vidal, and Pawlowski, our next round of questioners for 5 minutes. Mr. Viersen, please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you to our witnesses for being here today. Ms. Petronas, you talked a little bit about Poitras. You talked a little bit about own source revenue and how many of the bands in Northern Alberta are having to use that to fund the COVID response. Could you talk a little bit about what this own source revenue is and where it comes from, and how bands use that typically?
Certainly, own source revenues are derived from the businesses that are owned by the nations or by individuals, And in the case of, you know, in Alberta, we have casinos. We have 5 casinos that are First Nations owned, and they've generated, you know, a lot of revenue from that. So they were able to, you know, fund some of the deficits, I guess, in the COVID response. But we also have some First Nations that have the oil and gas revenues, and you know, there's just all types of ways that First Nations have generated those funds, and you know, and having to use those funds, they're of course depleting those resources as well.
Yeah, it's also interesting. Casinos are probably all shut down during COVID, so that revenue, it doesn't continue, and the oil patch is hard hit as well, which also would hit your own source revenue as well. So just want to get that on the record as well. Mr. Fiddler, your community there in Northern Alberta, most of the communities put up barricades to all the roads entering their communities, and had basically a check stop at every entrance, and that seemed to have worked. We've had a couple of tragic cases in Northern Alberta, but for the most part, the Indigenous communities have fared reasonably well due to those blockades or check stops working. Is that a similar experience in your neck of the woods?
Yes, it's been really extraordinary to witness the efforts our leadership and our citizens have made over these last 3 months to keep themselves safe, including putting up checkpoints or barricades. And in that territory, we have 30 fly-in remote communities, and we have, I think, 20 that are road accessible. So they've put in these barricades, checkpoints to limit traffic in and out, and it's been very effective. And that's been, I think, one of the presenters talked about the issues around enforcement. That's something we are working on right now, knowing that today the province is moving into phase 2 of reopening the economy, and we need to give assurance to our leadership in our communities that they have every right to maintain those measures after today, and that they will be respected.
Yeah, I heard that all my friends in Ontario are all excited about getting haircuts. So that the just around the blockades or the checkpoints, essentially, there was some frustration in Northern Alberta just around the consistency of enforcement at those checkpoints. Essentially, it didn't seem to necessarily be a clear criteria as to who could come and who could go. Was that a issue up in your neck of the woods as well, or did that seem to all go fairly well? Mr. Fiddler.
Sorry. Well, I mean, we very quickly have had to put in these measures like on the fly. You know, as I said, we didn't have pandemic plans when this pandemic was declared in March, and we very quickly had to, you know, advise or give advice to our communities in terms of what they can do, what their rates are, and that's through the work of our INAN COVID task team. You know, what measures that they can develop quickly and put in place, including checkpoints and barricades. That's something that's proven to be very effective in keeping the virus out of our communities. And I think that's something we need to do moving forward.
And it's been effective. Have you had any cases of COVID in the 30 communities you represent?
It's actually 49 communities, and we did have one positive case in the Appaduke in early April, which has since been resolved, thankfully.
Okay, and that brings us to time. Thanks, Mr. Viersen. And now for 5 minutes, Mr. Batiste, please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So one of the things that has happened as a result of COVID that I was sad to hear is that the AFN-AGA will not be taking place in Halifax and in July, and I understand why. And I'm, you know, as someone who's probably attended all of these AFN-AGAs over the past 20 years, I'm wondering how AFN is continuing the advocacy and communicating with their chiefs. I know that the Zoom has been used, but I'm kind of wondering what's the strategy for passing resolutions, for moving things forward, really doing the important work that AFN has done over the years in those advocacy. And I'd like to hear from Regional Chief Portras as well as Grand Chief Fiddler, who I've often seen at the AFN AGAs and shared wings with over the years, and wondering how do we see this unfolding over the next 6 months to a year during COVID times. How does the First Nations across Canada continue the great work of advocacy and passing resolutions and working with committees moving forward? So I'd like to hear from both of you.
Thank you. Well, yeah, it's unfortunate that the AGA has been canceled this year, and what we've decided was to move the the decision making and the resolutions that we need to move forward to December. But in the meantime, like you said, we continue to advocate with government, but we also continue to do some of the work through Zoom. But a lot of that really slowed down during the shutdown. So we need to figure out ways how we're going to move forward and ensure that the issues that we need some direction and guidance on is being received by the leadership. So it's a work in progress.
Okay. Grand Chief, Grand Chief Fiddler, you want to just comment on how effective that has been for you as a Grand Chief in your region, and give us a sense from government, what recommendations can we do? I know you guys had a event that was planned in Ottawa that got canceled on this as well. So I'm just wondering, what are your recommendations, and what are your feelings on how do we move forward in terms of having that communication between ministers and regions and chiefs in Canada?
Good to hear from you, MP Batiste. So that's something that we're also working on right now in terms of our own governance systems during this pandemic. Obviously, we have to make adjustments to how we do business, especially with our leadership, and that's something we're getting legal advice on. We had planned a Chiefs meeting in April, which we obviously canceled. Another meeting coming up in August, which we're postponing to the fall, and we're getting we have to sort of reframe and redevelop our rules and procedures so that once we do a virtual Chiefs meeting in early fall, that it's going to be legally binding, that the decisions that they make will be legally binding, that the resolutions that they pass will be enforced. So we've had to do some rewriting in terms of our own rules and procedures to make sure that how we do business moving forward is legal, and that the resolutions that they will pass are going to be enforced. So that's work in progress, and obviously we have to do that if we're going to keep moving forward. That's something that we're committed to doing.
Okay, Grand Chief, I know that you were cut off a little bit when you were getting into the importance of UNDRIP and the importance to your communities about that. Could you I wanted to give you the time to be able to talk about why UNDRIP is important for us to move forward on and what it means to your community.
Well, even during this pandemic, we're hearing in the media stories about communities still facing pressure from developers going into their territories that they want to consult them on a mining project, for example. And right now, with the travel restrictions that are in place, we need to respect those. Everyone needs to respect the decisions that our communities have been in place, and that they shouldn't be facing additional pressures at this time, including from industry, to have these discussions. So, and again, if UNDRIP was the law of the land, this wouldn't be happening. I think it's so important that this is legislated, that this becomes law at the provincial level, at the federal level, all governments, that this needs to happen fairly quickly.
Thank you very much. And I'm glad you were able to get that in. Thank you, Mr. Batiste. Mr. Vidal, you have 5 minutes. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I as well want to thank all of our witnesses today for being here. I want to ask each of Regional Chief Patra, Grand Chief Fiddler, and Chief Matthias a question about education in your communities. My role is kind of services and that portfolio. So I would just be curious to have your response in the context of everything that you had to do to adapt from an elementary, the elementary education in your communities, both what you had to do now kind of in the midst of this to what you're kind of anticipating come fall, all the way to maybe how you're adapting to what you expect come fall from a post-secondary education perspective for the people of your communities. I think it was Chief Matthias that talked about the percentage of people under 25 in your community, and just that context of where we go come fall in a post-secondary education perspective. So let's start with Grand Chief Fiddler and then Chief Matthias and Regional Chief Putra from there. Maybe just if you would each give me a response to that.
Yeah, I mean, that's for this very important question. And again, while we're dealing with COVID and all the safety measures that we're putting in place, at the same time, we need to look at education, because we don't want our children to fall further behind in their schooling. That's something that we are working on right now. In fact, next week, we're having a virtual Chiefs forum on education to talk about what that will look like in the fall moving forward. And again, as has been mentioned before, in terms of the lack of infrastructure in many of our communities, we need to very quickly build on this work to make sure that there's adequate, that there's broadband, that there's adequate bandwidth for our communities to be able to deliver education to our children. And that's something we are, I think that's something that I want Canada to look at a bit in more detail in terms of how that work can be supported, because infrastructure will be a very key piece in terms of how we deliver education, especially in the remote north. As I said, 30 of our communities are considered remote, and we need to very quickly move on that work.
Chief Matthias, if you would.
Yes, thank you for the question. Here from my community, we're in the province of Quebec, and Quebec reopened their school there about 3 weeks ago or so now, and we found it pretty premature to do that. So we decided not to reopen our school, because we have our school, almost just one school, is house the primary and the secondary school. So we chose not to reopen it. What we're doing is that we're putting in place different measures, putting a plan in place so that we're planning to reopen in September. And then because we were in a lockdown, we're kind of in a semi-lockdown too, and most of the teachers come from outside the province of Quebec. Okay. Even. So they have to come into quarantine when they come to the community. So these are the things that we have put in place to to make sure that we don't allow the virus to come in and it spread in the community.
Thank you. Regional Chief.
Thank you for the question. There's many great examples of virtual online learning from Indigenous youth that were presented during COVID, but there was also on-the-land training. Resources were provided to some of the nations. But in terms of opening up and moving forward in September, the issues of social distancing and the need for additional portable infrastructures, increased bus services, and of course broadband, so that our nations can ensure that their students are receiving the optimal education that they require.
Thank you. I think I just have a few seconds, maybe, Mr. Chair. Anybody want to make a quick comment on the post-secondary side of this at all, of people reaching out on a post-secondary side?
Very quickly. We'll perhaps be able to pick that up because I want to make sure everyone gets a round of questioning. And so hold that thought. Mr. Pulowski, I'll give the floor to you for 5 minutes.
Thank you. Now, I have a whole bunch of questions for Grand Chief Fiddler, but we talk fairly often. When I go to church, he's usually there as well. And if I go out and open the door and yell really loud, he could probably hear me too. So I think I'll instead address my question to Mr. Jackson. We have an opportunity to have a very famous Canadian appear before us today. And I thought I would ask you a question. Racism has been very much in the news lately. You said you didn't go to school very long, but wisdom isn't something, in my experience, that you learn in school. That's something you learn in life and from experience. You, like me, have gray hair. I think you're the elder of the witnesses before us today. You've worked in a lot of places with a lot of people in Canada and the United States. What have you learned in life about the nature of racism?
It's a constant. What we have to do to mitigate racism and the effects of racism, in my opinion, is that we have to take this word, a word called love, and create a verb. We need to school in compassion, in empathy, but mostly we could become the cause, not follow the cause. And if we are committed to creating a better environment, then we have to commit ourselves. We can't wait for somebody else to make change. We can't hope that somebody else has a voice. If you don't use your voice now, you may never get a chance to use your voice. And the reason I'm saying that is because we're at a very important point in our history. This is a point where the convergence is not so much a convergence, it's a gap. What's happened is a gap has been identified, a crevice has been identified, and it's been brought about by many things that are founded in history. We don't have to rely upon our knowledge of history, but it's a good place to look to make sure that our today makes more sense to us, and that our tomorrow becomes our today. It's great to make a plan, but it's better to have action. It's better to have a verb than a word.
Maybe as a follow-up question, I think you've probably worked a fair bit in the United States as well as Canada. And would you say a few things about perhaps the anti-Black racism in the United States compared to anti-Indigenous racism in Canada? Are they comparable, or do they share similarities? Are there differences?
There are differences in that we were born here in this wonderful country, on this wonderful land. We didn't come here. We didn't sit in front of slave merchants on a ship. We were born here. And the racism that I think that has become our burden is how our governments, how our conquerors, at least at the time, our parent conquerors have used the gifts that we have and taken those gifts and used them, but have not reciprocated. They have not returned the kindness. And a lot of us are still trying to figure out how we got into this mess. And believe it or not, if you do something for 300 years, it's really hard to change overnight. But if we start with that, remember that little word, that verb? We start with that as a seed, and we plant it and we nurture it, there will be a harvest. and we can all share in the harvest.
That brings us right to time on a remarkable intervention. Thank you. And now, Madame Berube.
Ms. Berube, you now have the floor. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to thank the witnesses that are with us here today. I'd like also thanking the PVOs and the technical staff and the interpreters that are essential resources for this committee. I'm on the traditional territory of the Crees and other. My question is for Chief Matthias. You've said that the emergency, state of emergency was declared in March. Do you think that your actions were worth it, or do you think that collaborating with the federal government would have been a better solution with regards to money for the needs? You also had a lack of housing. How did you do things? Thank you for your question. With our plan, we've put in place a big committee. We have 14 members on this pandemic committee. We have people from the health sector, education sector, public works, and people from the council, and people from general administration of the community. We meet every morning. We meet via Zoom every day to see what's happening. We've established a plan on the go. The challenge is to implement the plan. That's where there were issues. Some guidelines that were implemented needed an intervention from police services. People didn't want to cooperate. We had a curfew in the community. We had a checkpoint. We've quarantined people. We also had this quarantine policy. When we've had these challenges, the Sûreté du Québec said they couldn't help us without a public health decree or order. We had support from Dr. Sobanjo. This person is responsible for public health in our region. She recommended to the Quebec government to go ahead, but the Quebec government has not given this to us. The other communities in Quebec also want to have such an order. The problem is that communities like ours that are not reserves and that don't have their own police force and can't establish their own rules, that's an issue.
For 2.5-minute rounds, and good answer, but we went over time. I'm going to ask Ms. Gazan now to go ahead, please, with your question for 2.5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I hate to do this, but because I only have 2.5 minutes, I'd like the respondents to limit their responses to a minute. My questions are for Mr. Jackson and Grand Chief Fiddler. I'll start with you, Mr. Jackson. You talked about struggles that artists are having right now. I'm in support of a guaranteed annual income. How do you think that would help artists post-COVID?
Well, I know that right now, because there is no income for artists other than CERB, if that's cut off, there are very few options. So, and I say this because there is no way for our artists to make money. So how would that affect them? I hate to say that it would be obvious, but it would affect them not just from the perspective that they could go buy a loaf of bread or something for their children. What it does do is it makes a difference in their mindset. It makes a difference in understanding that a world of government and people that we have entertained all our lives actually care. Yeah. So it makes a difference to me because it makes me believe that you believe that we can actually do something for you. So helping us help others.
Yes, thank you so much, Mr. Jackson. I have a million other questions I would love to ask you. Grand Chief Fiddler, you spoke about the issue of access to clean drinking water. The Liberal government promised to end all water boil advisories. This is coming up in a couple of months. It's very clear they're not going to keep that promise. We're currently in a pandemic now, which for me speaks to the need to quicken the process to end all water boil advisories. What kind of difference would it make if the government made substantial and real investments immediately to protect the health and safety of your communities and respond to this basic human right that's currently being violated?
Just 30 seconds. Go ahead, Chief.
Yeah, thank you for the question. You know, you can take anything, any sector. On the reserve, there are no standards. There are no standards on healthcare. There are no standards on education. There are no standards on housing or water. And I think that's what this government needs to look at, is building those standards, the standards and at the reserve. And again, water, it's a source of life. We cannot live without water. And we need to create standards to work in partnership with other jurisdictions, the provinces, to build these standards, to fund the communities to be able to meet these standards.
Thank you so much. And now we move on to a 5-minute round once again. Mr. Schmale, you're up first for 5 minutes.
Thank you very much, Chair. And I hope you can still hear me. I tried to reduce the amount of noise I have in the background. Again, apologize for not being.
Could I ask everyone to put themselves on? There we go. Okay.
Good to go? Okay, perfect. I guess I'll start with Mr. Jackson. I did enjoy your opening comments because, like you, I started my career off in radio and as a lowly journalist and a news director eventually. You were right about the pay. It is pretty horrible, but it is something we do enjoy doing, and that's why we do it. So I guess my comment to you is in regards to the CERB, because we have heard that a few times. And I do have family members in the travel and tourism industry who say the exact same thing you do, that live comedy shows or concerts or performances will be the very last to recover, same as travel and tourism, probably in some cases very late to recover. So in terms of extending CERB, unless I missed it, did you put a kind of a thought on the table as to when you saw CERB kind of starting the taps to turn off, so to speak?
My comment was that mid-July, because a lot of folks in our industry applied and got accepted at the front end of CERB, that clock runs out mid-July because there was only a period of time of which we qualified for it. So we're actually asking now for an extension of that, so that and an extension on where the cutoff is, so that we can maintain an existence. And it's not just those on the stage. It's really important to know that it's the industry itself. It's the IATSE guys. It's the crews and the writers and the designers. It's all of those people who, in fact, are behind the scenes that we don't know, and that's a large number.
Now, do you, as we slowly start to open up, and my friend Mr. Pearson mentioned that those of us in Ontario are allowed to get a haircut now, do you see a slow, gradual opening of some of these places, such as theaters and that kind of thing, where you could transition into the wage subsidy and then do it that way instead of staying completely on CERB? I
do see that there's a possibility of it being slow, but we have to be very aware of all of the things that we have to to do to stay safe, to keep us safe, to keep you safe. We have to be aware of that as we open up. That worries me a little bit. Although I say no, we need to get some activity to take place. Now that may not be ideally the way we want to have it roll out, but there are other mediums now that are. I have a project which is called Almighty Voices, which offers an opportunity for participants to make up to $10,000 versus some of the options now virtually, where an entertainer will do one show once and somebody will profit from that, but it won't necessarily be the entertainer. But there are models, and I could describe them to you, and I would gladly do that offline, where we can create a better sharing of profits of those kinds of models that everybody can. So if I do a show and I've got technicians, that they would have at the end of the day a residual every time that piece showed versus just one-time pay.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. I appreciate your comments. I just want to quickly move over to the conversation about sport and how it could help with all sorts of things: physical activity, mental health, etc. I forget who was talking about that. I think it was Mr. Matthias, I believe, was mentioning that. Did you want to expand on that a bit, on how any ideas? I think it was you that was talking about how we can expand the sport portion of it in terms of getting people outside, getting them active, getting them strong mentally and physically, that kind of thing.
Well, what I mentioned about that is that the lack of infrastructure that we have in our community, and that like we don't have our own arena. We have a ball field that we only did it on our own without getting any financial support. So I think there's a need for that, to start providing, adequate infrastructures to our young people. Right, so, they're not. They do what they do mostly is they do more traditional activities. They'll go paddle around with canoe, or they'll they'll go swimming. These are the kind of swimming in the river at this time of the year too, and it's snowing right now right here. So could you imagine, and what kind of conditions that our youths are having to to do different kind of sports.
Okay, we'll leave it there for 5 minutes, and now we go to Miss Zan for 5 minutes.
Hello, bonjour. How's everybody doing today? I'm coming to you from the beautiful unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq in northern Nova Scotia. I'm in Truro, and I want to say welcome to the committee. Thank you for all of your important presentations. And hi, Tom, how are you doing? It's been a very long time since we've seen each other, but I am so proud of your career. You've done so well. And thank you for promoting the creative economy, which, as you know, I'm a member of actually most of those unions that you mentioned, and was an active performer for 33 years. I always say that we have an industry that is clean, green, sustainable, and constantly renewable. And it's based on the biggest natural resource that we have, which is the talent and creativity of our people. That's why I feel the creative economy needs to be invested in right across the country by provinces, municipalities, and of course, the federal government. A lot of my friends are in the same boat with the CERB. They definitely want to see us extend that CERB. They can't go back to work. Whole seasons have been canceled. Stratford Festival, Neptune Theatre here in Halifax, entire shows, seasons are canceled, and they will not be going back until, say, next February, is what I'm told. It's difficult. As you know, it's difficult to make a steady living. It's difficult when you're out of work because actors do not get employment insurance. In the States, they do. also in the States, they make residuals and good residuals, whereas here in Canada, actors and writers are oftentimes a sign up and they sign a deal where you get paid once and that's it, on and on into eternity. And other people get rich and make billions of dollars with our talent. Can you tell me, Mr. Jackson, if we can extend the CERB? We have also already invested $500 million into the creative industries to try and help get through this period. What else can we do to help the creative industries as we move forward to be more viable and get more money into the pockets of hardworking artists?
Well, we need voices like yours to start out with.
Thank you.
And we need to make sure that we don't put our foot on the fat pedal. We got to keep our foot on the skinny pedal. We have to keep moving forward, because regardless of what the immediate future brings, we have to plan in real time. We have to make changes. We have to be inventive, because we cannot rely upon that. And no disrespect, we can't rely upon that welfare check. Right? We want to work like everybody else. We can't rely upon that. So we have to change our way of thinking and bring others along. And I used the word earlier, to collaborate, to sit down with government and say, okay, if that doesn't work, can we create some legislation that is special legislation, like something that is unique to what is already existing, but using the existing framework so we don't upset the apple cart. Now, it's not that I'm not a favor of upsetting the apple cart, because I've done that from time to time myself.
That's probably why we get along so well.
I think it's really important for us to think outside that box. And I'd like to go back to a point that I talked about earlier, creating a model where if we're using what is available to us, where others other than me or you or a promoter can share in the feast, right? If I'm a crew member, and I almost got an IATSE card honorarily once. I didn't quite make it, but I almost got it.
You and Graham Greene.
If I was a member of a crew and somebody was shooting in my theater, or if I was providing that access to the public and they were going to pay to see a show, can we not create a residual for the crew? Not just the writer, not just the actor, not just the comic, not just the musician, and certainly not just the promoter. And I'm sorry, I love promoters. Nothing wrong with that. But the reality is that we should all be able to share in the feast if we're creating the feast.
Thanks very much.
Thank you so much.
As a 45-year broadcaster, I can tell you that when the government allowed expansion of corporate ownership of radio stations, it almost killed the local radio market and all kinds of entry-level jobs. But that's not my opportunity, because I'm not on the. Zimmer is, and he has 5 minutes. Mr. Zimmer, please go.
Just get back on here. Hey, everybody. Yeah, I wanted to get back to just the discussion with Tom. Thank you for answering some of those questions about what the industry needs. And again, maybe to a bit more of an in-depth discussion about where it's at. I'm a resident of British Columbia, so Vancouver, the film industry in Vancouver is huge, and it's many of us watch the programs on a daily basis that produces for the world. So we know how valuable it is, not just economically, but how much it matters to us just in our leisure and our lives. And I will say for myself, I'm missing the theater experience. We regularly go to movie theaters just to get out, and it's part of our history now and heritage, and it's something that we miss. And I wanted to more talk about, again, Mr. Jackson, how do we get back there? I know discussion is around PPE, and again, with as I had framed it before, around this cloud of COVID, how does the industry get functioning again? And you said, again, welfare isn't something that's a long-term thing. It's to sustain us in gaps and in challenging times, but it's something that we can't rely on in the long term. How do we get back to functioning where we were pre-COVID, where the industry was doing fairly well? I mean, there was challenges there for sure, but how do we get back there as an industry in film?
Well, we have to recognize the challenges that are in front of us and take those challenges one at a time. We can't just throw everything in and expect the right answer is going to come out. So at the front end of this, we have to be better at managing and demonstrate that we have the ability to manage such things like building forts. Let me give you an example. I have a project where I'm going to go into a theater, and I saw on the television the other day, children going back to school, and they got to figure out how to respect the social distancing, is they got to build a fort. So we're going to go in, and I'm going to give all my players, okay, that's your fort. That's what you have to do. So we have the opportunity to make sure that we address our own health and others' health first. And then we have to figure out, okay, how we just have to follow the dotted line. As the opportunity expands, we have to expand. But if we're not willing to explore right now, it is an entertainment industry. It is an industry of imagination. And we have to explore ways that we can, first of all, take care of ourselves. B, take care of we'll become more successful in what we do if we take care of somebody else first. If we figure out how to take care of them, we'll figure out how to take care of ourselves. And don't just rely, in my opinion, don't just rely on being an actor. I was living in a hole in the ground. When I got out of that hole in the ground at one point, I was trying to get a job. So I phoned my friend and I said, can I carry a cable? So I'm not just an actor, I'm a cable carrier.
Right.
I'm not just one thing. I have to be prepared to work in other areas that's in the business. The business is a big thing. And there are plenty of opportunities to be creative at a time where you have no other options.
Yeah, that's well said too. I started off dishwasher and eventually became a carpenter, and here I am as a member of parliament after a few years in university. So it's funny how it works, eh? It all works out. I'll go back to Mr. Chief Matthias again, and I'd asked a question about the communities, and it ran out of time before we got to your response, and just wanted to know, I guess, and that's the hopeful future post-COVID. Where do you see that? What's the need to get the communities back to functioning on that level that we were before? And I know some of the functionality wasn't even where we wanted it to be pre-COVID, but what do we need to be in our communities to be successful?
30 seconds.
I guess the comments that were made earlier, back to normal. For us, back to normal is really not an option.
Right.
We talk about welfare checks because that is what normal for Winnoway was. Is that depending, on welfare system. So we need to have access to our own land and to give ourselves a greater autonomy on how to govern ourselves. That's what really it is going to have to take. And UNDRIP has to be implemented, and that's what we should be working on.
Thank you, Chief. We're at time right there. Ms. DeMoff, 5 minutes, please go ahead.
Thank you very much, Chair. I want to start by acknowledging that I'm on the traditional territory of the Mississauga of the Credit First Nation. And I also want to thank all of our witnesses for your outstanding testimony. In mid-April, Tunchai Redvards, who's the co-founder and executive director of We Matter, noted an increase in anxiety, depression, suicidal ideation, and self-harm, hopelessness, and that around youth in communities, and also that youth are turning to unhealthy coping mechanisms. Grand Chief Fiddler, I had the privilege of visiting the Anishinaabe Nation before I was an MP with two girls who sent books up to the communities, Emma and Julia Mogus of Books with No Bounds. And when we went up there, we visited Pelican Falls First Nations High School and met the executive director there, and she talked about the number of youth at that time in 2013 who were attempting suicide. So it's not a new issue, but could you maybe speak a little bit about some of the issues that the youth in your community are facing and some of the challenges that COVID has presented in being able to support those youth and their mental health?
Yeah, thank you for that question. I think it's also important to note that these challenges existed before this pandemic was declared. And one of the things that we have done in the INAN territory, because we are a party to the Canadian Human Rights Tribunal case that Dr. Sidney Blackstock launched back in 2008, we've been able to carve off significant pieces to help support our children and youth in the INAN territory. And one very unique initiative that we've started in the INAN territory is called Choose Life. This started 4 years ago after a cluster of suicides happened in two of our communities. We were given a 3-year extension 2 years ago. We have 1 year left. And I always say every chance I get when I talk to government officials, this needs to be made permanent. So I would ask you to support us in that effort, that this has to be a permanent part of our communities. It's called Choose Life, because the issues that we're dealing with are long-standing. You're dealing with historic trauma from residential schools from the 60s scoop that we cannot address these issues with our children in 3 years or 4 years. This has to be, and it's a life-changing, it's a life-saving initiative. And I would just encourage all of you to learn more about the work that INAN is doing and to support it and to make it permanent.
Chief Fiddler, Grand Chief Fiddler, is that a pilot program? Is that something that other communities could take advantage of the outcomes that you get from that, or is it just it's unique to your community? I think, is it?
Right now, it's unique to the Anishinaabe Nation, and we've been very open about sharing this information and the work that our communities are doing with other regions, because we know it's making a difference in the lives of our children. And we're still experiencing suicide, but not at the rate that we had before. So I would just encourage government officials from all the parties to get behind this effort, because these challenges are now made even worse by this pandemic. And we need to give hope to our children and our youth that these programs will not just be from year to year, and hope that there's going to be an extension. They have to be made permanent, because, as I said, these are long-standing issues, and it's going to take all of us to address, and be a part of this effort.
Thank you for that. And you want that stability, right? So, Mr. Jackson, I only have about a minute left, but I know you've done a lot of work with youth, and you had a Dreamcatcher tour to try and deal with youth suicide and mental health. I wonder if you might be able to provide some comments on how we can ensure that youth can access social and cultural supports.
A couple of things that I can say this quickly. I mean, we obviously need to understand the question. We don't understand the answer, because we go into a community and we assume that we know what the problem is. We need to ask young people what the problem is. They'll tell you what the problem is, and then we have to react. If they're brave enough to answer the question, what stresses you out? Because it's not suicide. It's an S word, but it's called stress. If we can manage stress, the byproduct is intervention. But we can't go in and assume that we know the answer. We can't just pluck that answer out of the air. We have to know what the questions are, and those are simple questions. What stresses you out? How can you tell someone else is stressed out? What do you do when you're stressed out? And how can you help somebody who's stressed out? It's a myriad of answers. I was in the north and I had this question in the school, and there was a young girl at the back of the room. And she said with tears in her eyes, when I asked 26 people. She said popcorn, making popcorn. And everybody in that room knew exactly what she meant.
I'm sorry to interrupt at that point. We need to get our next round of questioners in, which is a 2.5-minute round with Ms. Berube and Ms. Gazan. Ms. Berube, you have the floor.
En fait, c'est moi, Monsieur le Président.
Yes, I'm here, Mr. Chair. And Miigwech, my question is for Chief Matthias. I really like the sincerity of your answer, especially when you were saying for going back to normal, and you say you don't want your community to go back to normal, and you also don't want the status of reserve because it makes you dependent on the federal state. And you mentioned this in your speech because you said that it was very paternalistic, and you don't want to give up a large part of your territory, but at the same time there are some very important issues when it comes to being recognized, especially when it comes to independence, governance, and independence of the economy. You've talked about the challenges for health, the fact that you don't have your own police force. You've asked for interventions. It took 3.5 hours before the Cirque de Quebec go and see you. So you also talked about the legitimacy of being able to legislate in your own territory. What are the tools that you need in order to ensure the proper and sunny future for your young people in your community? And at this committee here, what kind of message would you like to give concerning the future of your community? Could you please open your microphone now? Thank you for the question. What kind of tools do I need, or we need? Well, first of all, we need willpower. Political willpower. We need that political willpower. We need the governments to be on board, and they have to stop treating us like the kind of clientele that they've been treating us for the last not just decades, but hundreds of years. And that kind of attitude has to go by the wayside. In English, you say, who knows best for Anishinaabe but the Winnoway? And it's the Anishinaabe people themselves. Oh, absolutely. So give us the means, give us the tools. Let's get access to resources, to the territory, and then we'll be able to self-manage, and we'll be able to build our own future. That's what we need. I completely support you in that. Thank you very much, and Miigwech.
Sorry about that. And now we go to 2.5 minutes with Ms. Gazan. Please go ahead.
Mr. Chair, actually, this round, this time is going to Mrs. Kikak.
Mumalek, please go ahead.
Thank you, and sorry about that mix-up, Chair. My question is for Chief. Sorry, always stumbling on your last name, Portras. While we are still concerned about a second wave of COVID-19 and still have a lot of physical distancing requirements in place, one of my largest concerns is the delivery of mental health supports. Could you talk about how your communities have tried to make sure people are getting the mental health supports that they need?
One of the things I've been advocating for in Alberta is to utilize our Aboriginal, like the elders, the health professionals, those that work in the mental health field, and there was a lot of move towards virtual, online providing mental health services, and but of course the issue was. A lot of the First Nations didn't have access to internet, and especially those that have the addictions, and so I'm hoping that excuse me, that moving forward we can have that discussion in terms of how can we address the issue of mental health, because it's huge. I mean, you've seen the suicides, women, that were being beaten and murdered, and so it's definitely something that needs to be addressed, especially if we're going to be looking at a second wave. We have to find ways that we can mitigate any of those critical issues that come out, and we've been having those discussions here in Alberta, and I'm hopeful that we can find some good answers, and for the people, and especially for the youth. One of the things that I tell FNIB and ISK here in Alberta is that we got to hear from the youth. They know the answers. They know how they what works best for them in terms of addressing their mental health concerns. So thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you so much. And thank you, everybody. That brings us to time for this meeting. And first of all, I know on behalf of all of our committee members, we're so appreciative of the witnesses' testimony today. It's remarkable. It touches all of us, and we're nowhere near finishing our work. That's obvious. I mean, there's so much that we still need to talk about, and that will bring me to my next suggestion. Madam Clerk, if I may, after we suspend and adjourn, could we have the line stay open to just discuss briefly offline the matter of the upcoming session, because we have some inhibitions with regard to how we may be able to sit in the summer, and we had some earlier informal discussions about summer sitting. So if I may, Madam Clerk, I'm going to look for your nod. Allow us to adjourn this meeting formally and then have a brief discussion following. Would that be okay? I'm getting a nod. Thank you so much, everyone. This meeting is now adjourned, but stay by.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good to see you guys.